Undisputed Boxing, we are here to review Callum Smith, or I should say Canelo versus Callum Smith. I can't believe this has come round so quick. Next Saturday in Texas. So here to give a quick review and predictions. Rick, how do you see this fight going?
My prediction straight up is Canelo win on points.
Okay.
I think it'll be quite tactical to start with. I think, both will have success. I think, Smith has got the range, obviously more. And I think he can punch, but I just think Canelo's got one hell of a chin. And I do think at some stage, Smith will connect with a great right hand on the chin and he'll just bounce off it.
Yeah.
At that point, just go, right, I'm not going to be able to knock this guy out. So I think there'll be a bit of that going on. I think Canelo will work the body. He's quite got a long torso, Smith, and I think he'll really go into the body, and I think he'll feel it, but he'll get through it. And I think it will be a Canelo win on points. I don't think it'll be a whitewash, but I think he will win quite comfortably. And the other reason I think on points is that even if it's tight, he's got to absolutely murder him on points, really, Smith, for him to win it on points. And I just don't see him knocking him out because I think he's very hard to hit, Canelo. And when you do hit him, he doesn't really do much. I'm struggling to see past the points win. And even though I think Canelo can hit, I think, he's now hitting someone who's never been on the floor before, and he's up at quite a high weight. I know he did the same. I know he cleaned Kovalev out, but Kovalev was on his way out. So it's kind of my quick summary. How are you going?
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably go one further and actually think a late stoppage. Yeah, I think a late stoppage. I do think this is going to be an interesting test for Canelo, but he's fought tall fighters before, Rocky Fielding, Sergey Kovalev. And yeah, it's pretty impressive career Canelo's amassed already. Never been on the floor, only that one defeat to Mayweather. And he's had like 55 fights already. Yeah, and he's just got everything, hasn't he? He's got awesome defense, he's got a great chin. I just think, I think he'll be winning quite easily on points, and I think he'll he'll finish him sort of late. I'd say maybe round 9 or 10. And I think he'll stop him with a body shot. Funnily enough, I think he is going to do a lot of investing in the body shots early on. But yeah, I think, and let's face it, it's in the US. I think you're always starting with maybe 2 or 3 rounds down against Canelo anyway. So yeah, I think that's really how I see it going.
What gives you the confidence of a knockout win? Is it the Kovalev fight? Because you could argue and go, well, he had 2 fights with Triple G and didn't knock him down, and didn't knock him out, and Smith's never been down. So it must be the Kovalev fight that gives you confidence he can do it.
I just don't think Callum Smith has been in with anyone anywhere near his level. I think this is all about levels, and I think whilst Callum Smith is a great, British, super middleweight, really, there's very little things he doesn't do well, and I just don't really see anything that can trouble him. But I also think, sort of late on, and against elite fighters, I personally just think it'll stop him. I do think that this isn't really Canelo's toughest fight either. I think Golovkin was probably Canelo's tough fight. I actually think Golovkin won that first fight. It was very close, but I remember scoring it and I gave it to Golovkin. I just think this is, I don't know, I think maybe I'm a little bit kind of sold on how he kind of stops Liam Smith. He stops Liam Smith with a nasty body shot. I think it was in like round 5 or 6. And I just see it going the same way really, against Callum Smith. I think elite level. I mean, who's Callum Smith's best win, would you say?
On paper, probably George Groves. but then George Groves was probably a bit past it.
Yeah, that was a washed up George Groves, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't debate that. I think Canelo will win. It's just I'm not saying he couldn't stop Smith, but it's still it. I think I've seen Smith in trouble before. I don't think I've even seen Smith that much in trouble. I know that's always a thing for me because you've never seen a boxer in trouble. It could go either way. Actually, you don't know if they could capitulate or actually you see the best of them. Do you think the lack of time to prepare will be a factor for either fighter, even though the fight was announced like 5 weeks before the date of the fight, but there's a good chance they're going to meet each other, so they could have been preparing. But do you think that'll be a factor for either?
I don't think that's a factor, no, because whilst it does look like it's a late notice, right, you've got the fight, I think Callum Smith and his team, one, they would have known way before it was announced that they're probably going to get it. They probably have got the fight. And then I think the second point is that Callum Smith has been in camp and training as if he is going to get the fight. So, yeah, I think I think he's had ample time to prepare. I just look at I think you just got to look at the team around, Callum Smith and, his brothers. I do think Callum Smith is probably the more talented of the four Smith brothers. But I just don't see how, in terms of like natural talent and Joe Gallagher's, game plan as good a trainer as he is, I just don't see, there's just nothing in that camp and his surroundings that tells me that he's got, much of a chance. And I'd probably give it kind of an 80-20. Maybe that's a bit harsh. Maybe 75-25 in favor of Canelo. I just see this as a routine win. And I would have personally liked to have seen Billy Joe Saunders. I think Billy Joe Saunders has got a better chance of beating him. I just think he has something a little bit different. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. Should be a good fight.
Yeah, it'd be interesting what Joe Gallagher, what he comes up with before the fight, because the world will be not the world, but anytime Canelo fights, a lot of people watch it, and Gallagher likes the limelight a bit. So no doubt he'll be pulling out a few kind of tricks during the build up we're approaching. But yeah, it's one of those fights that's a bit like. I can't. It's hard to imagine it. I don't know. It's hard to kind of visualize it. What will happen? And I think Smith's one of those fighters that always seems to look quite knackered at the end of every fight. I don't think he necessarily is. He always looks quite drained at the end of each fight. And I don't know. Maybe that's when he'll get through more, because at first he'll probably keep him on the end of the jab, because he's got a much more superior reach. And it'd be interesting if even if he doesn't catch him clean, once Canelo feels the power, even if it's just catching it on the glove, they say that, in boxing, if you feel that power, it makes you more tentative. So, you'll see maybe that'll be his tactics. It's, I'm going to throw some stuff at you early. It may not get you where it needs to, feel the power, and that will stop him from taking risks and potentially the body work. But you're going to need more than just jab your way to beat Canelo.
Yeah, I agree. And then I think Golovkin's fighting the night before. Is it fighting on the Friday against Zerameta? I didn't realize it's actually a title defense, IBF middleweight defense.
The Smith fight, what belts are on the line for that? There are 2 belts on the line.
Yeah, I heard that the WBC super middleweight belt is on the line. And Smith also holds the super WBA super middleweight title, which he obviously took from George Groves. But I think he's recognized as Ring Magazine as well. He's recognized as the Ring Magazine super middle.
Yeah, so there's a lot of silverware on the line. The Golovkin fight, I don't know much about the opponent, if I'm honest, but I get the feeling it's a holding pattern to potentially fight Canelo again. So I don't know if it's so Golovkin hasn't looked quite like Golovkin in his last couple of fights, so that'd be interesting to see just how he looks, I think. Where's that one at? Because that both are Matchroom, aren't they?
It's in the US. I don't know where exactly, but yeah, it's on DAZN. But I did check out the guys, Zaramata. Is it Zaram? I'm pretty sure it's Zaramata. I did check him out on BoxRec. Not really much to trouble Golovkin. Even a Golovkin that, in my opinion, I think is really on the slide now. I think he's probably got one big fight left in him against. I think he obviously is looking for that third fight with Canelo. Kamil Zaramata. It is going to be. Just bear with me.
I need to find out what channel it's on as well, because I'm probably gonna have to use my box because it's not on Sky. I don't know if Triple G's on Sky. I get the feeling both will be on DAZN UK.
It's in Florida. It's in Florida. Do you know what's really interesting about Matchroom in the US? You know, they haven't had a fight in Vegas for a long time. And I'm not sure, like, I remember there's something to do with Julio.
It's a license or something.
No, if you remember, they were going to have Chavez Jr. fight against Daniel Jacobs in Vegas. And then I think Chavez didn't get a license or something. So then they went, okay, we'll have it in Phoenix. Or I think they ended up having it in Phoenix. And apparently the boxing commission in Nevada were very upset about it. And I don't think he's even scheduled to have a fight in Vegas. I could be, bullshitting here, but I don't know. It's really strange how since then he's not attempted or tried to have a fight in Vegas. They've either been in California or New York or Florida in Miami.
Yeah, the Florida. Do you say it's the Florida one's a weird place for it to be? Texas, I suppose, makes sense because I think it's near the Mexican border. Yeah, I suppose that makes sense a bit. And I suppose at the moment there's no crowd. Oh, there are crowds over there now. Is Triple G expecting crowds?
Yeah, I'd imagine they'll have a crowd in Florida. Yeah. But I don't know. It feels
one
like
thing we didn't mention on the one thing we didn't mention on the previous video, the Joshua video, is it's just great to see some crowds back in the UK.
Yeah.
Boxing.
Yeah. Hopefully that is going to be the start of crowds coming back. Yeah.
And
let's hope.
Me and you doing a few next year when you're over it.
100%. Yeah. We'll get the calendar out, and I'm hoping that we're going to get some. Yeah, well, I think we always say this, don't we? At the end of each year, we're like, right, there's going to be so many good matchups coming up. But I mean, what are your sort of top three for next year that you want to see?
Oh well, Fury, Joshua, Spence Crawford, and I mean they're the obvious two. I'm trying to think of a third, but a bit more of a kind of a selfish one. I don't know. I'd like to see White against Wilder.
Yeah,
for a belt.
Love it. Love that fight.
Yeah.
Just the trash. The press conference would be good as well.
Oh yeah, it could happen in the sense that the Joshua Fury fight. I get the feeling they'll convince all the federations to unite behind it and make it undisputed. But there'll be a thing where the rematch will be just for kind of a couple of belts.
Yeah.
And then literally the following week, they'll leave them and the WBO will be the first out the door and the WBC will probably go right. So I think White fights Povetkin. Then the big fights in the summer. I'd imagine White would be on the undercard, fighting a lower key. I don't think he'll take any risks at that point. A low key fight on the undercard. Meanwhile, Wilder's in the background with a couple of fights, and you know they love Wilder, don't they? The WBC. They may well just say, right, you've got a couple of wins. You're back in at the end of the year against White for the title. So I can see a path to it. A lot of things have to line up.
Yeah.
So we've gone off topic a little bit, but we don't think that there's no decent fights on either of the undercard, is there? Of Triple G or the Canelo fight?
No, there's a pretty packed schedule between now and the end of the year. Actually, I don't know if you've been following Gilberto Ramirez, former super middleweight contender. Well, he actually former WBO champion. He took the title from Arthur Abraham a few years ago. He's now campaigning at light heavyweight. He's fighting a guy called Alfonso Lopez, and he's like Gilberto Ramirez is at light heavyweight now, but he's 40-0. And southpaw, really tricky, rangy. I quite like him. I think he's Mexican. He's fighting next Saturday as well on the same night as Canelo. But I think he's potentially one to watch in what is a very packed light heavyweight division.
Who's he with? Top Rank.
I think he's with Top Rank. Yeah, I don't think he's with Golden Boy. I think he is with Top Rank. But
and we've got Campbell Garcia on the 3rd, haven't we? That's a really weird date. I know it got pushed back, but that's an odd date, isn't it?
Yeah, that's on. That's on the. Is it on the 2nd or the 3rd? Yeah, you might be right. It's on the 3rd, I think.
3rd, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
All
wrap
right.
this one up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. So next week, let's do an awards for the year, fight of the year, fighter of the year, or maybe a few others. And then obviously we'll do a review of Canelo versus Smith. Looking forward to this one. All right. Thanks to everybody for listening. Please like and subscribe.